Adolescence is a pivotal part of an individual's life. In this period, teenagers undergo many physical and emotional changes that contribute to their development into adulthood. However, during these periods, teenagers are hindered by the restrictions established in childhood, even while they gain the mindset of an adult. So, how does this restriction affect the development of teenagers as they transition into adulthood? Restriction comes in many forms, through the authoritative style of parenting, the regulations on travel, driving, and drinking, as well as the restrictions on body modifications and dress apparel in schools. Still, teenagers choose to ignore the many restrictions enforced on them. In this documentary, we seek to explore the reasons for this rebellion during adolescence and if it can be managed by a more lenient or strict enforcement of rules and restrictions. There are many examples of how restriction can alter the adolescent mind. In popular media, we can see the effects of restriction on adolescents in real time, specifically through the experiences of child actors. One such example is Britney Spears. The child actor grew up in a very dysfunctional family, characterized by the absence of empathy and open communication. During the start of her celebrity career, Britney Spears became more absent. Coupled with her newfound access to wider social networks, Spears was struggling with managing a safe lifestyle. This would eventually lead to a mental crisis that forced her to be placed under the care of her father through a conservatorship. Britney recalls the total lack of control she had. The conservatorship governed all aspects of her life, from whether she could have a child to her finances. Britney discussed her opinions on this amount of restriction, stating, "I think back now on my father and his associates having control over my body and my money for that long, and it makes me feel sick. Think of how many male artists gambled all their money away, how many had substance abuse or mental health issues. No one tried to take away their control over their bodies and money. I didn't deserve what my family did to me." In order to act against her conservatorship, Britney reminisces over her small acts of rebellion, stating that she would ignore her team's on-stage suggestions, choosing to hold back and dance awkwardly on camera. She goes on to say that although it was satisfactory at the time, it only ended up crushing her spirit more. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Spears states, "I realized how much of myself I withheld on stage. How much by trying to punish the people who held me captive. I punished everyone else too, including my loyal fans and including myself." In conclusion, over-restriction makes an individual feel powerless and consequently leads to the individual trying to take this control back by rebelling against the rules placed upon them.